Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the St. Louis podcast. I'm your glorious host today, Eric Brown, president of iMedia and partner at Mogul Holdings. Today, we have Joshua Ramsey on the St. Louis podcast. We're going to get into the weeds with him and his business. But before we do, as always, this is the St. Louis podcast each and every Friday, 7 a.m. We drop an episode on all major podcasting, video, and audio platforms where we meet with the most badass people and creators, talk about business, entrepreneurship, and current events. Joshua, how we doing?
Hey man, it's a beautiful day, right?
It is. It is actually. Yesterday was a blizzard here in St. Louis, which is very weird.
Yeah, well,
And today's the sun's out.
I think we were going to meet earlier in the week, and we had a massive storm blow through Dallas, where I live, and yeah, it knocked out power and roofs blew off and all sorts of crazy stuff in Texas. So
yeah, when is Texas going to figure out their power issue? What's going on down there? You guys get
Man,
get a little bit of ice, a little bit of snow, and all shit goes to hell.
Well, in Texas, we're known for in 24 hours we will have the four seasons.
Yeah.
So it literally will snow, then hail, then rain, then go from freaking 15 degrees to all the way up to like 115. It is literally that, and that has happened. Like, I don't think it's gone that far, but it's gone from freezing all the way to like 90 degrees within a 24-hour block of time. So, yeah, us Texans, man, we're crazy. If you ever want to know a good joke, do we have time for a good joke?
Go for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, so these two Texas guys die and go to hell, and Devil walks in and goes, "Hey, Texas boys, how do you like this down here?" Texas boys go, "Man, this is great. This is like another day in Texas. We love it." The Devil goes, "All right, I'm going to show them. I'm gonna bring the heat." So he goes and cranks it as hot as he can, walks back in. Texas boys relaxing, cooking a T-bone steak on the rock, and says, "What is going on?" And they're like, "Man, it's like 4th of July. This ain't bad." Devil goes, "All right, I got you then. I got you. I control this underworld." Goes out and turns it blizzard cold. Walks back in. The Texas boys, "Oh yeah, let's go. This is awesome." They are pumped, jumping up and down, celebrating. Devil goes, what is wrong with you Texas people?" The two Texas boys look at him and go, "Hell froze over. The Cowboys must have won the Super Bowl."
Cowboys. I feel bad for Cowboys fans.
Thank you for feeling bad.
I don't really, but sort of.
And
your owner's the problem. He needs to get his hands out of GM, man.
And then the Mavericks, we go give up Luka for a pack of Jelly Bellies, and yeah.
I heard a conspiracy around essentially the Lakers making the NBA make that trade. That way, the Lakers can come back and actually be a decent team.
Well, the Mavericks are probably going to be in a couple of years in Las Vegas, and
I think they're trying to move them. Yeah,
that's what it is. That's why the ownership is now living in Las Vegas. So.
Mark Cuban went from like the beloved child to like most people don't like him now. It's his story's pretty interesting.
It's a chaotic world in Texas, man. Everything happens. You know what I mean? It's like the center of chaos. So
yeah, I saw the GM was getting booed right after the trade, I think, or whoever it was. And he was just getting booed, and he was like, "Why is everyone booing me?" I'm like, "You are clueless, my guy. What do you mean? You just made the worst trade in NBA history, probably."
That guy, man. Yeah, I don't condone this, but I mean, it's gotten hairy. I mean, he's had death threats and everything else, and I don't condone that at all. But it's like this guy doesn't. I don't think he knows what he did. So he doesn't plan on having a long career in the NBA unless it's working for the Lakers, which I think he already does. So
yep. Exactly. So, all right, Joshua, owner and operator at JR CMO and full stack marketing agency, Fractional Chief Marketing Officer with over 20 years of experience, author, speaker, executed over 80,000 marketing campaigns nationwide. So we were talking about some stuff before we started recording and how you've kind of turned into the CMO and, fractional CMO and really talking to business owners about what they need to know, what they should know, how to find a good marketing partner and things like that. So, I'm curious, what are like the 3 most important things, I guess, that you kind of tell a business owner, have a discussion with him about what they should know or what they should have prepared before they even start that engagement process?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think the first thing is that to me, nothing ever lives in a vacuum of here are the first three things. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to try to boil it to that so that we have some good talking points. But I think that every business is different. So that'll take me to my first point as I try to narrow it in for the audience and for us to discuss. So the first one is, I love Zig Ziglar and what he used to teach. And it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I believe if Zig was still with us today, he would be teaching it slightly different. And what he would say today is it's not what you say, it's not how you say it, it's what's perceived by your audience. Because today, with the digital age and the way things have changed and the way that we have evolved as society with the internet and more, and the overwhelmingness amount of media. It's not like back in the day when I was a kid of you open up the yellow pages, you find who you want and you call them. Now it's so much more. And, that perception, that first impact of perception is so key. That tied with maybe point number two, but very tightly with number one, which is what's called the USP, your unique selling position.
Yep.
So what is it that you bring to the table that makes you more unique than anyone else? And I think people have a hard time explaining and even self-awareness of what their story is.
Yeah, business owners don't know this. And you almost have to get it out of them of like, why? Because it kind of comes back to like, why'd you start the business? Like originally, before maybe you've fallen out of love and are a little bit burnt out originally, like why did you do this? What is your story? But yeah, most of the time you talk to business owners, they can't tell you why they're any different than the other person down the street. And I'm like, then you don't know what your USP is.
The easy answer though that I will go ahead and share for people to start thinking about that is it's related to psychologically what's called your narrative. Your narrative is essentially your lifehood story. It's what you've actually lived through as a child to adulthood and what the commonalities are. And it's interesting if you talk with enough business owners about their narrative, you start to understand if you go back to their childhood to where they are today, whenever you meet them, the life scars, the life lessons, the life success, all of these elements come together, typically will lead you and show you why they do what they do. So sometimes I come in more as a counselor to a degree to business owners than just a marketing guy, because I'm walking them through what they've dealt with and why they are where they are at now. So that's two. And to throw that third one out there, I like to create and have them start working on the KPIs, key point indicators. What is the baseline and the KPI of what we want to achieve? I read a brilliant article. I don't remember who wrote it. It was a while back, but he said in his article, he said, when you get hired as a CMO, the first thing you should do is figure out how to get fired. And it was that, what? Wait a second. I want the job.
Yeah.
What do you mean? And he said, if you know how you're going to get fired, all of your effort goes around not doing that. And I was like, that's pretty brilliant. So when you build KPIs, you set the right expectation and you're always able to point back to, this is what we agreed you wanted. Things can shift. No problem. We have to be agile in everything we do today. But that's really what we want to know is how do we get fired and then don't do that, right? That becomes a change.
Yeah, I see, it's especially initially when you're talking with business owners that, you even ask a question like, okay, you're a roofer, right? So to get you out on a roof, realistically, give me a range of what you'd be willing to spend just to get a contact, not to get an actual appointment, but to get a lead. And then we could say, 70 to 80% of those are actually going to turn into an appointment, like a house visit, roof visit. Put a dollar amount on that. In a large majority of the time, they have no idea. They don't know.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm like,
and
well, simply just
benchmarks.
Take it back.
I don't think people know this out there that are listening to this podcast right now. There are benchmarks in every industry that will tell you what you will spend on average per lead, per sale, per, acquisition, all the way to per impression. It can vary, but I had a meeting this morning with a general remodeler that he does primarily kitchens and bathrooms, and I told him the benchmark is about 250,
Yeah.
and that's for getting someone into your showroom at what I call a two-legged appointment.
Mm-hmm.
Two decision makers coming in, and those are the people you want. And it's interesting that then you build your whole marketing campaign around that and those price points, and that impact that it has is drastically different.
Yeah, most people, most business owners that, especially in the past, haven't done like a lot of paid ads, for example, really haven't ever thought about the value of a lead to begin with. So they've never, they get referrals and they get, word of mouth, and maybe they do some networking or whatever, but they've truly never thought and thought the time, the investment, realistically, what should that cost?
Yeah.
And most of the time you don't know it. It's not until you've actually been doing it for a while, you have history of campaigns, or you do the research, right? Like you're saying, a lot of this data is already out there for you, accessible. And remodeling, $250. I mean, that is where I see most home service companies going in the way of with cost per lead now. When I would say even 2 years ago, I would, I could probably, I know our West County insulation, so we own an insulation company. In paid ads, our lead cost since we started the business about 3.5 years ago, strictly on Google, has doubled. So it went from about $40 to about $80.
Yeah.
Now, other industries weren't so affected. We've just had a bunch of insulation companies come in and copy us. But, in other sectors, like with roofers spending 250, I mean, that's a steal almost at that point, right? Because there are industries spending way north of that. But then you think about it, well, okay, how much would you pay a salesperson to go out, knock doors, and try and get one versus this lead, this information, and hey, they're not only that, they're directly calling you. So it's odd that business, until they have like the opportunity to spend, it's like they don't even think about what the actual cost opportunity is for those leads. So yes, you are right what you said earlier about almost coming in as a counselor, because you have to you have to explain this, walk them through, almost like a child, and be like, this needs to be done, this needs, like a teacher, if you will.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely agree. So when it comes to, let's say you're talking to marketing agencies, right? We were discussing this before as like easy red flags to know when not to work with a marketing agency. And I think number one, and you probably have a lot more than me, but the first one that always rings out to mind is if you don't own the marketing assets that you're paying for. Like if you're paying whatever a month, and once you stop paying, the website goes away, right? Once you stop paying, we're going to take down the stuff that we made. Once you stop paying, well, we own your ad account, right? And now all of the data that you have in there for the past 2 years, you've gotten to a point of, your campaign working out, or campaigns working out fairly well. You have the cost per lead where, you would like it at. You have it on smart bidding, so you've had enough, data to come through your campaign to, send those conversions back to Google. But at the end of the day, you have to stay with them forever, because when you leave, you're not getting access to all of that data.
Yeah.
Which is insane. So what are some things that you see all the time?
I dealt with another company not that long ago, and it was a roofer actually in Central Texas. And they were working with an ad agency, and the ad agency was actually doing pretty well. The expectation of the owner of the company was a little higher than what it should be. But I understood why he had that, because I kind of believe with that of when you get in certain situations as a business owner, you raise the bar of the expectation to here, knowing that your employee will never hit it. So the employee will come in here, and then whenever that employee hits here, they're going to backslide to this. So that's your standard. But if you never set that higher bar, you're never really going to get it. So what happened though with this agency was they would not be agile in their decision making. They
Yeah.
had literally filled out a box at the beginning of the agreement, and they had a year-long agreement. And the agency told the business owner, this is exactly what we're going to do. This is how we do it, why we do it, when we do it. And this is all we do for you. They're like, we can do these other things, but this is it. So when I came in, I said, you've been doing this for 6 months, and there are some really good things that you've done. I, for one, would hire them for some of my clients. The key is that I said, what got you here won't get you there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to change. So they had built backlinks and they had pumped traffic to the site, but the site traffic was only sticking around on average for all verticals coming in, all attribution points. They were sticking around for around 23 seconds.
Yeah. That's not enough.
And even for a roofer, 23 seconds is not enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I came in and said, hey, I want to work with you to change the website page to more of a CRO style, client retention optimization, so that people stay on the page. And the longer someone stays on your website, the more likely they are to convert.
Mm-hmm.
There's all sorts of metrics, including ranking, higher conversions, and more when someone stays on your site. But that means they have to be interested.
Yep.
So I asked the agency, hey, can you not do these 5 or 6 things and now only do this 1 or 2? So I'm actually making it better for the agency. And the agency said, no, we're not going to do that. So I said, all right, I understand. After going back and forth, I said, at the end of your contract, I can't justify to the owner to keep you on board. I'm like, it's real simple. You've done a great job, but we've got to change because we're not hitting the benchmarks that the owner really wants. I said, it's your call. I'm willing to keep you on. I would make a recommendation to keep you. But for me to do that, we're 3 or 4 months out from the end of your agreement. The only way I'm going to make this happen is if you can work with me and shift your focus over to these other things and that we can improve it. If you do that, we'll keep going. They didn't want to do it. The agency ended up getting fired by the business owner, and there was nothing I can really do. So now I still have that client, but we've moved to a new agency that has agreed, yes, we'll work on this, but we'll also be agile. And I think that's where business owners get stuck, is they get locked into a contract that they don't know how to change or when to change it.
Yeah, that's something that we encountered with an issue internally with our own business with SEO, because we had an agreement, this is probably 5 years ago now, where we had strict deliverables, right? Now, it was really nice for our clients because we could show, like, the biggest issue I see with SEO is, like, you don't have strict deliverables. You don't really know what you're getting on a monthly basis, right? And a lot of SEO companies don't show it. It's like, are you doing backlinking? Are you getting sponsorships from local associations, for example, for local SEO? Are you building out new content on the website? Are you going over existing old pages and, re-optimizing them? What are you doing? And so we had a really old agreement. It was just strictly pretty much based on us building pages and then optimizing it. That was it. So we ran into an issue essentially of a couple of our clients we needed to do other things that were on the agreements. And so what we ended up doing was we literally changed the agreement essentially. We went to our clients, we're like, hey, this is why we're changing it. You're still paying us the same amount, but we need to be doing these other things that we don't have included on this contract.
Yeah.
And I was like, it'd be easier for us just to write the 3 pages a month and be done with it. But that one of the main reasons we started this business, or one of the many, but one of the larger ones, was we got screwed over by a marketing agency when we were all 23 years old, when we were trying to start a real estate investment company, which was never going to go anywhere. We didn't have any money at the time. I don't know why the hell we thought we were going to get into real estate, but it is what it is. And we went through this horrible process of dealing with a marketing agency. And then, slowly we start to do stuff on the side for, like, social media posts for companies. And we realized that a majority of these people out here doing marketing don't know what they're doing. And there's also a lot of people that are out here purposely or unpurposely just signing these businesses into contracts. And at the end of the day, taking the MRR and really not caring about the service
Yeah.
service they're actually providing to that business owner. And I was like, there has to be a way that we can change this. And it's something actually that's brought up less now. I don't know how you feel. I used to hear it all the time, like, I don't want to do X because I've been burned multiple times. I really
Yeah.
haven't heard that a lot lately, but that was a big thing I used to hear. I mean,
Yeah.
3, 4,
I,
5 years ago.
I hear it a lot. Yeah, I hear, but I
Okay.
mean, I do talk to a lot of people, but I hear that a lot. What I would say is it's interesting. Kind of my paradigm shifted the other day when I was having a conversation with somebody, and I get asked all the time for referrals. Hey, can
Yep.
I talk to a couple people? And I always respond. The first thing I respond is yes. Period. Yes. Next paragraph. I do want to explain to you that whoever you talk to or you ask anyone for a referral, they're always going to give you the best people. But what we all need to be asking when we talk to referrals is, what is it specifically that you like about who you're working with?
Mm-hmm.
And what my clients will say is, I'm agile, I'm energetic, I'm passionate, and I give a damn about what they do.
Yep.
Right? Like I put myself as the CEO of their company. I'm not, but I put it there of what's going to be best for the company. And to me, I think that's the big difference of how I operate as a chief marketing officer. Because what I want to do is identify how do we grow, and my agreements are 45-day opt-out. So basically, you can cancel real quick with me, but my average client stays with me for multiple years. And the reason why that happens is I do what I say I'm going to do. We have the growth. We take off and we continue to grow because we have to continue to adapt to the marketing. I call it leverage point marketing, where we do something, we see what the result is, and then we leverage it. We modify whatever we have done to try to improve it and make it better.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been burned, and I think it's one of those things. It's kind of like, I always say that the dating world and the business world are much alike.
Mm-hmm.
You've gone on plenty of dates. You've had bad ones.
Yep.
At some point, you hope to meet the one, whoever the one is for you, that you can be with forever. But once you meet that person, it's only one. Think about how many bad dates you had to get to the one that you can spend all of your time with and be best friends with. Like there's ad agencies, it's kind of the same thing, unfortunately. It's like you're probably never going to have the one unless you have an employee that's just there forever. Again, that's a different world.
Yep.
I wanted to throw in one other thing because you said something that sparks my mind on this. One thing that I teach a lot when I do conferences is ad agencies sell you what they're good at, not necessarily what you need.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people don't grasp that when they start to interview agencies. And therefore it's like, hey, well, they said they would do this and I thought it would work and it didn't work. And it's like, that's why a consultant or a fractional CMO like myself, people are more and more drawn to what I do because I have the knowledge of all these different industries, all these different businesses and the platforms to advertise them. And we walk through the logic of what they should be doing and what they need to hit the goals that they want to hit.
Well, you see it. Yeah. You see it all the time where it's tough. It's tough to find the right company. I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm still trying to find the one. So who am I to sit here and talk about this? But you're right. And the cost to entry to be a marketer is super low. I think like COVID really blew up marketing field, and we're starting to come down from that, thank God, because anyone could just sit at home, sit in front of a computer like I'm doing right now and say they're a marketing agency. One of the big problems I also see, just when it comes to actual agencies themselves, so I'm going to bitch about agencies here for a second, is the guys or the gals that, say they own a marketing agency. And there's some here in St. Louis and they're everywhere. But really it's just them selling you, and then they outsource all of that work. Absolutely everything. Besides maybe their ideas that they jot down on a Word doc and send it over. And they're not even here. They're not local. They're probably not even in the United States. And then, the clients wonder why their service or their work isn't as good as probably it should be. And I hate just those type of agency owners make me upset because they act like they have a company, right? Which they do in theory, right? You know what? So
Yeah.
it's like, but really you're not, you're just, you could charge maybe a little bit less because you're just outsourcing that over to the Philippines or to Guatemala or wherever it
Yeah.
is, which is fine, I guess, if you could make it work. But I, marketing is like, it seems like even marketing agencies, they always try and put out bigger than they are. And one thing I try and do is act how small we are. I know. But everyone's here in St. Louis. You want to meet them? Great. They're here. They can get on a video call. They can speak English. And not only that, a lot of them either need your service, have used your products, etc. So it's like, they're not in some other country that they don't even know what this is, right? They're like, what even is a shingle roof? We don't even have those here. So, that one thing it's very odd phenomenon. You really don't see it in a lot of other business types.
Yeah. I think to a degree you could draw a parallel into other business types, but we don't need to go down that road at this second. What I would say is, again, if you're trying to vet out an agency, one of the things you want to look for is how long have they been established?
Yeah.
Because like you said, COVID, they came and now they're gone because they got tired or ran out of government money. So now they can't afford it and they got to go get a real job.
Yep.
Well, that's why, when I tell people my background, my story, 2009, I started my first company. Now I'm up to 3 and I still own all 3 of them. So there's a big deal of, I have clients that have been with me since 2011.
That's
2011.
awesome.
You know what I mean? Like, so when people go, well, let me talk to referral, I'm like, yeah, do you want to talk to someone started with me in 2011? Like, and they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I have those people that have been with me that long. So I think that that's one thing. It's just like a remodeler. If you go to someone that's been in business for 3 years, I'm not going to hire them. Like there's certain parameters of a home remodeler that I'm like, I want certain level of, satisfaction and longevity of the company. I do a lot of, we keep talking about remodeling just, I guess, because I have it on the brain today, but I also pull one thing and I create marketing PR documents for clients that are in the remodeling world. One of the things that we put out there is how long they've been in business and if they've ever had another DBA in the same industry or not. And that's part of it, right? Because it's not like, oh, well, we got sued, so we shut that company down and we started another company. You know what I mean? Like these are the things. I love the statement that I created. It says, you don't know what you don't know until you find out that now you know what you should have known, and shame on you for not knowing and not even knowing to ask. Right? So, as stupid as this sounds, I love this story and I tell the truth about it. When I bought my first home in 2011, my wife was pregnant with our first child. We have 3 now. And when that child was born, we bought our house and I had no idea that I had to go to a special office to file for homestead. In Texas, you have to do that. My real estate agent didn't tell me. The mortgage broker didn't tell me. All these other people, my mom, my dad, no one told me this. How am I supposed to know? Right? Like I'm still considered a dumb kid, first time parent. What's going on? Head on a swivel, trying to figure it out, run a company, have a kid, No one told me. So how am I supposed to know? Right? You go to the doctor and the doctor goes, well, check this, check this, check this. Here's all the boxes. But why is that not happening in real estate world? And people go, well, that's dumb that you didn't know that. And I'm like, okay, I got off a call with a company today that's doing $200 million in their top line, and they don't have Google Analytics set up on their website.
Oh my God. Really?
So when someone's, you see what I mean? Like there's things that you don't know what you don't know until you find out that now you know what you should have known.
I hope they have never had a marketing company or a marketing person at their company, because that is like I don't know. When it comes to marketing, I'm like, if you spend money before you have the stuff able to track and analyze how you're spending it, don't spend it. Or like attributions are messed up. I've had countless conversations in the last week of people not, I'm spending money on ads, I'm spending money on SEO, and I'm getting these leads, but I don't know where they're coming from. And I'm like, it's not that hard to set this stuff up. It's really not.
I mean, a legit company built their website. and even linked the company's website to their ad agency, but yet GA4 doesn't exist. Not even the old code where like maybe it got missed and not passed off, and it's just non-existent. It was never there, never put there or anything.
So, let me guess, that was a web design company, and that's all they do, because they're infamous. PSA to anyone building a website: if you're just hiring someone that knows, and this is my hot take for today, if your web design company is not familiar and no SEO, and if your website does not, if you don't know pages, if you're not building the pyramid, if you will, off of the homepage and know what pages you need for SEO, don't work with a web design company that doesn't know SEO. I'd almost say go to an SEO company to design a website, because the design it doesn't matter if you have a great, I think design is overrated for a lot of small businesses. People are just trying to find the information, and if there's good information, they're going to get a hold of you. You don't need to be artsy fartsy unless, like, your business type is dependent on that. We work with a lot of home service companies. It's like, you don't need all this fluff and bullshit. Just literally whatever they're looking for, just give them exactly what they're looking for. That's it. And then have some additional relevant information.
Yeah.
That's what
I think there's a level to it that goes a little bit deeper. I'm with you, and you're probably going to be agreeing with what I'm about to say, but there's a level of the depth that you take to answer their questions, identify their hot buttons. I think it was Jay Abraham that said marketing can be real simple. Figure out what they're thinking and say that back to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Within that, what I look at is, if you landed on my website, plug jrcmo.com, when you land on my website, you see that there's like 4 or 5 boxes that basically highlight what most business owners are looking for. Mm-hmm. So they go and they read these 4 or 5 boxes and they go, okay, what do I want? And most of my traffic doesn't go any further. They go to one of those boxes and then they go to that page. My average user stays on my site for almost 6 minutes, which, doing that on average in as many platforms as I use to advertise, that's a lot, but I have a ton of free information, but I hit their hot buttons and I know what they're looking for because I've identified the avatar of who I want to talk to. And therefore I'm meeting them what they're looking for. They can see that I have the answer to the problem rather than on my hero image going home remodeling company. Yeah, no crap. That's what I typed into Google, and that's why I landed on your page. That doesn't solve my problem.
Yeah.
And that's where, again, marketing just real simple gets failed. So,
well, I mean, it's that simple when it comes to Google Ads, right? If someone's looking for best roofing company in whatever city, have the ad be best roofing company. You can even have it dynamic text. Have it whatever they search for. Literally have an ad directly tailored to that. If they looked up best metal roofing company, or they looked up best kitchen remodeler near me, literally essentially have the ad as like best or top rated or something very similar to what they search for. Because we see ads not relevant.
But you got to take that a level deeper, right? Because what you said is not wrong. That's part 1.
Mm-hmm.
Part 2 needs to be the emphasis of what I'm going to add to your part 1, which is you have to build not just what they're thinking, but what they should know.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I just said, I don't know what I didn't know until now I find out that I should have known, and shame on me for not knowing. So best roofing company, yes, say that, but then give the supporting evidence of why you are, right? More than 20 years experience, 0 BBB complaints, never changed my DBA, never changed my roofing license.
Exactly.
That's a whole lot different than just saying, yes, we are the best roofing company. When you start adding in these other credibility, it's kind of like if you don't want to fall out of your chair, how many legs do you want to that chair?
Mm-hmm.
Most chairs, on average, we're just going to say you have your right? You have your 3 little legs, kind of wobbly. Sit on 4, a lot more stable. What happens if I add a 5th? What if I add 8? Now it becomes evidence, and people are looking for evidence without cognitive reading and thinking. They're not going to your site thinking, I need evidence. Not in their forward lobe. They're thinking in the back, they're going, I need to hire a roofing company. I type it in and I look, what makes me feel better about this one versus this one? But if you come in and immediately above the fold start building the evidence that no one's ever thought about, that's part of your narrative.
Yep.
That's part of if you're a legit company. Now, if you're not a legit company, don't listen to this podcast, or at least don't listen to me, because I'm not going to be helpful to you, right? I'm not going to, for me, I have
no
the ethical
fake
line.
business here. Yeah.
But you get the idea, right? It's like people don't think about that narrative. This goes to psychology, which I don't know that you want to go down this road today, but now we talk about the reticular activator and how we're searching. I kind of unfunny true story. I was driving home from a meeting. I was supposed to go pick up my 7-year-old daughter from elementary school. I literally pulled into the driveway and realized, oh crap, I forgot to pick up my daughter. I took off and I go to the school and I pick her up, and I didn't tell anybody. So hopefully my wife doesn't watch this episode.
Bleep that out.
But I mean, that's alpha mode, beta mode. Right? I was so focused on beta mode of I got to get home, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I'm busy, that I totally forgot a priority in my alpha mode of wait, stop, go do this, right? Same way if the wife goes, hey, will you stop and pick up milk on the way home because the kids want cereal in the morning? Same thing, right? You get home and then she goes, did you get the milk? And you're like, oh no, I forgot. So that happens, and you translate that back over to business, and it does translate to business. Because human buying behavior is the same no matter what you buy or what you sell. Human buying behavior is exactly the same. We all make decisions based on certain criteria: advantages of ownership, objections, and vendor selection. That doesn't change no matter what you offer or sell. Stick a gum to Ferrari, car, Porsche, whatever you like to drive. It happens the same way.
Hey there, St. Louis podcast listeners. We've got some exciting news from our friends over at Farmers Insurance of St. Louis, led by the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Lee of Farmers Insurance. If you're looking for a job or to own your own business under a brand that everyone and their cousin is familiar with, Mark Lee with Farmers Insurance of St. Louis is recruiting insurance agency owners here in St. Louis for their Farmers Insurance Mentorship Program.
And as many of you are aware, Garrett and I have owned quite a few successful and award-winning businesses over the years. And in a past life, one of those was a farmer's insurance agency out of Chesterfield, Missouri.
Eric and I know firsthand how hard it is to start a business under a brand that no one has heard of and convince consumers and businesses to trust that you're an authority figure in your industry.
And as many of you know, we own an award-winning marketing firm, Vi Media, the one that Garrett was just discussing. And building that company's reputation literally took years. We're still building it to this day, and it's been 8 years in the making. However, with the Trusted Farmers Insurance Agency name on the building, we got started when we started our Farmers Insurance Agency. The trust was already built and has been for 96 years.
And if you can't do math, that means Farmers Insurance has been around since 1928. Luckily, you don't need to be a human calculator to get rich as an owner of your very own Farmers Insurance Agency.
Nope. All you have to do is reach out to the one and only Mark Lee, the leader of Farmers Insurance in the greater St. Louis metropolitan area.
That's right. So ensure he continues to sponsor our show and your favorite podcast, the St. Louis Podcast, by quitting your job today and calling Mark Lee. I wouldn't even wait for him to answer your call. Call your boss now, quit, and become your very own business owner.
Visit insurancecareerstl.com. That is insurancecareerstl.com. Should we spell it out?
Yes. It would
INSURANCE, career, CAREER, STL.com, insurancecareerstl.com. Go there now. Back to the podcast.
And wait, insurancecareerstl.com.
Back to the podcast. Yeah, no, that is absolutely true. So one thing that you said earlier that I wanted to kind of come back to was you're saying ad agencies a lot of the time sell what they do well, and they don't exactly sell what's best for the business. And that is true a large majority of the time that I see, because one of the hardest conversations I think I have to have a lot of the time when I have to have the conversations is really it goes a few different ways. Number one, hey, this is X industry, this is a new product. This is right. There's not a lot of data we can go off of. And yes, we can run ads, we could do SEO, we can even do social. But a lot of the time when you're upfront with these people and just be like, hey, this isn't necessarily a gamble, but this is not a guaranteed success, right? And we take on less and less of these businesses on, a consistent basis just because realistically, it's easier to stay in your niche that you already know you do well in. You have hundreds of businesses that you already work with in that. It's like, why step out of it, right? But, when you have that conversation, or even if you have the conversation of, listen, we start our management at $1,500 a month on Google Ads. You can only spend $1,000 a month. That's literally your max. You do X, there's only this many searches, and marketing companies will still sign them up. So I had a conversation earlier with a company that they do some like custom stuff. So really when it comes to Google Ads, they could spend, $1,000, $1,500 a month. So I'm like, listen, we can't charge you $1,500 a month for that. We cannot charge you as much as you're paying to ads or even more. Right. I was like, we just can't do that. So we're going to have to figure out a different way. So I'm finally going to create something for companies that are only able to spend like $1,000, $1,200 a month, because before I'd just be like, sorry, we can't do anything. But I think we can maybe do something here now, because it's just, I'm tired of turning these people away. They need help too. So we're going to try and figure out that. But they said they had a meeting last week with a marketing agency here local in St. Louis. And they said that their proposal was $5,000 a month management. This is only for Google Ads. $5,000 a month management, $1,000 on top of that, of course, going to Google Ads. So $6,000 a month, $5,000 of that to manage ads. And I was like, that's a crime. I was like, your return on investment would have to be like 50x or something insane. So I'm like, okay, there's still marketing companies out here on a daily basis, even right down the street from us, probably right now, that are actively screwing over business owners. And I had to explain to them essentially why that was the case of that being a crap deal, right? Because I was like, okay, well now, say your cost per lead is $50. Well, it's $50 of that 1,000. Why don't you go in and add in that other $5,000 for the management and then divide it out and see how much your leads actually cost, right? It's like, it's not going to be worth it. So it's, I don't know. You almost have to have a backbone. You have to have good ownership at your marketing company, because it really is very easy at the end of the day to screw over business owners because they don't know a lot about what we do.
Yeah. When people come to me about AdWords, I literally have this meeting quite often with clients and prospects about AdWords. Mm-hmm. And I always hear the same thing, similar to what you're saying, which is spend more money, spend more money. The agency's telling the business owner, spend more money. I most often don't say that. I don't say spend more money. What I say is we're going to limit the geography we focus on, mm-hmm. the time of day, and the search term keywords.
Yep.
Until we do that and we hone in and leverage it and make that better, we're not going to spend more. Let's clean up what we have. Let's take care of what we have and where we want to target and hone it in. There are different KPIs, even inside Google AdWords, that you can track and monitor to know that what's your search impression share? How often do you mm-hmm. show up? And there's ways to control that search impression share. Content of your site, meaning the density and how it matches your ads and your keyword performance, all of that goes together. That's one. And it goes through the others that I just talked about. But I think people, they just get stuck because they don't know what to do. So I'm actually starting a new series where business owners can come to a free lunch or a free happy hour just to learn some of the insights. And the reason I'm doing that is that I truly want to help business owners stop making mistakes. My goal, my job, and what I do for a living is to educate people, because what I know is if I create the best user experience, the best clients are going to come to me because they're going to realize I have the best intentions in mind. I'm truly out there to help. Mm-hmm. And I know that the client that I want is the one that's educated on what I do, but they don't have the time or they just don't want to do it. They're better at other things. So they go, hey, Josh, let's bring you in. You do this for us. That's really what I'm looking for. And that's where business owners like to work with me. So that's kind of my new series. Again, another little plug on what I'm doing, but that's the focus of it.
Yeah. So it's, with business owners, when I first started the business, the first couple of years, maybe even the first like 3 or 4, it's almost scary to interact with the business owner when you first start that is very knowledgeable in marketing. Now, I would say over the last probably 4 years, I've gotten to the point where, like you were saying, I would much rather work with someone that understands all of it, click-through rate. I mean, you name it, they understand it. And looking at campaigns, understanding ad groups, maybe not understanding enough for them to do it themselves, but for them to be familiar with Google Ads and be familiar with analytics and Search Console and how this stuff affects your business. Because at the end of the day, it's a lot easier to explain. Those meetings are quicker. They have a good idea of what's going on. And it's either, hey, we didn't hit it, we did hit it. How are we improving it? Here are the issues. Instead of having to have hour-long conversations about something that, Google will answer in 5 seconds. You know what I mean?
That's it.
And why do you think it is? I've always kind of wondered this. Why do you think it is that business owners really, they come from a sales background. Usually they're fairly good at sales, but for some reason they just don't know marketing. And I don't know what that is. Or maybe it probably depends on the company size as well. But it seems like they have a very good understanding usually of like ops and sales, but not so much marketing. They just lean on a marketing person to take care of it. And it's like, that is one of those important pillars of your business that you should have a good understanding of what's going on and how everything works.
Yeah, my response, this is a thought, this isn't necessarily a proven theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my thought is that it's not so much that they're always good at sales, it's that they're a good communicator. They're passionate about whatever they do.
Sure.
They enjoy what they do. Therefore, they can communicate to people that they know, but they don't know how to be a salesperson instead of an order taker. I think in today's age, it's too often that we call them salespeople or order takers. These are two different people. Yep. An order taker is when a business owner comes to me and they go, hey, you put me in front of them, I'm going to close them 80%. Anyone with an earshot of my voice, listen very clearly. If you're closing 80%, you're an order taker. You're an order taker. That's it. Because if you're getting someone to talk to you and you're closing 80% of them, shame on you for only closing 80. So now it goes back to a statement old as time, which is, do you want to close 80% of an apple or 20% of a watermelon?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to take that watermelon.
Right? There's a big difference there, right? No matter what type of fruit you like, it's what you're getting of it, right?
Yeah.
So generating the leads and making it a simple knockdown, easy close, that's what we all want. And if it was that easy, no marketing person in the world would have a job, right? It would just, who cares? Mm-hmm. Doesn't work that way. We don't put our name in the yellow pages anymore for a reason, because they don't get distributed and no one looks at them. Yep. The yellow pages today are citations on the web, all connected to Google, Yahoo, Bing, DuckDuckGo. That's it. We
still sell citations to absolutely everyone.
Citations should be everywhere. Citations build the credibility of a website. Now we go back down another rabbit hole that you and I could talk about again is, SEO, because people go back to something you said before. People don't understand that there's really only two parts of SEO. It's on page or off page.
Yeah.
People can go back and forth and argue about this, but that's all it is. On page and off page. How you do it, which one you do, why you want to do it, and the hierarchy of what you do in each. That could be debated. You could prove case studies on whatever you want, but that's SEO. Again, you get sold, business owners get sold the dream or whatever the agency offers, not necessarily what they need. And that's where business owners are just, they haven't been given that type of education on how that works. So they just kind of keep going thinking that there's nothing better out there. And again, that's why I try to put out as much education and be on as many podcasts to help people be aware of this. So that way it kind of opens up their mind to what are better options out there? What could we be doing that we're not? How do we approach agencies? How do we hold agencies accountable? And then I teach agencies. Agencies hire me to formulate and better communicate with clients, to reset expectations for them to hold on to clients longer. Average ad agency keeps someone for 18 months.
Yep.
That's insane. 18 months. Imagine you hire an employee and only keep them for 18 months.
Yeah.
You'd be losing your mind. So
I see them turn over in 3 to 6 months. I'm like, unless they're doing an awful job, it's really not that much, especially 3 months. I'm like, it's not much time to, I mean, what are you even measuring at that point? There's not enough time to really test. You see what works. It's like, I'm of the belief where you gotta be with the company for at least 6 months. And sure, after 6 months, they're not doing their job, red flags. There we go. There we go.
So for those of you only listening, I have a book that I wrote for free consumption out there, and it's how some SEO companies disguise laziness and hide poor strategies. And it really is. The chapter 1 gives you the 5 bullet points on how to choose an ad agency or a marketing service. That's the first chapter. And it's a 85-page book because it's direct to the point, saying exactly what you need to know and why it matters. And then it builds a little bit of social proof in it, and then it moves on to the next chapter. But it's kind of a core elements of what marketing really is, dumbed down, simplified from people like Jay Abraham to Harshaw to Covey, to Zig, all these people and what they've taught and what I've learned and simplified into, if you only know a few things about marketing, these are probably the things you need to know. Sure, it's tied to weapons of influence and how to win friends and influence people and marketing the traditional and all these different psychology pieces, but it's just kind of simplified into one little book. But there are things to read that can take you to that next level. It's about the consumption of media for yourselves, of business owners, to improve your overall vision. That's the difference there that we have to pay attention to.
It's 100%. So when it comes to hiring a CMO or a fractional CMO, when does that make sense for a business versus, or maybe it goes hand in hand, versus, hiring an internal marketing manager, right? Or whatever, versus hiring an ad agency like myself or one that you own? What does that timeline look like, I guess, for a business owner to know when is it time for this versus that?
Everyone's going to be on a different path, right? I've kind of mentioned that before. So I don't want to speak this as a whole truth, but I'll give you some parameters of consideration. The first thing is in the beginning, that's the time. Finding the right consultant or CMO with experience in all different media lead generation platforms to match your vision as a business owner and what needs to happen to get your vision successful. That's when you look at a CMO. That's the first step there. Long term becomes more of a question of what is your growth metric and what do you really need? You can live with an in-house marketing person. And about 90% of clients that I have, they have some form or type of an in-house marketing person. Some of them are the business owner themselves is the marketing person.
Yep.
Because you need some type of boots on the ground. You need someone that's going to get it done, execute it, get the trade show stuff done, the home show stuff done, the tracking, the CRM, the little pieces. You can hire an outside agency to do it. Oftentimes that's a little too expensive and you really want someone in-house.
Yep.
If you have that person in-house, you're going to hire them only with certain qualifications and they're not going to have what a CMO would have. So that's where you have to just kind of identify what works and when you should hire it. By the way, just for everybody, if you're thinking kind of the question you asked, I do a 2-hour free consultation. So if anyone ever wants to reach out, I do a free 2 hours of consulting at no cost just to help people understand. I don't believe you can know someone's business and who they are and their direction they want to go in 20 minutes. Yep. So I spend up to 2 hours to say, Where are you at? Where do you want to go? How? Why? What have you done? What's the background on it? Walk through it all and then say, look, here are the next steps that I would tell you to take. So those are a lot of the elements that I look at. But I also want to speak to this real quick because you didn't know to ask this question, but I want to make sure that you and the audience understands this. The hottest term right now out there, there's a couple of them. Programmatic is one of them. Third party, first data cookies is another. But one of them right now is fractional CMO. The search volume of fractional CMO over the last 12 months has drastically gone up. I want people to know the difference of different levels of what a CMO is and what to expect. You have some companies as a CMO that'll come in, work with you only 3 months, write you a marketing plan, and then leave. I know who they are. They're typically very expensive. They're easy to find online, but that's what they do. And they charge you about 4 or 5x what it should be.
That's more of a consultant though, right? Than a CMO.
They call themselves a CMO. So that's all we need to be paying attention to in this short part of the
that's
conversation.
really more of a consultant than, okay, go ahead. Got it.
So that's one part. Then you have a fractional CMO, self-dubbed again, who is an ad agency owner that's been doing it long enough that they go, hey, they believe in their mind that they are a CMO, but they only know digital marketing. They've never even spelled TV. They don't know how to spell radio, right? They only know how to spell SEO.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to put those people down. This isn't a condescending statement. It's a truth statement of understanding that a real fractional CMO steps into a company, sets the benchmark and the KPIs, the organization of marketing in the company, and then therefore at any point in time when they've done a good job, they can step out. That can take 3 to 4 months on average, but then it takes another 3 to 4 months to create the consistency. So there is that stretch, and sometimes you outgrow a CMO and you need them in-house. I do that as well, where I go out and hire the staff and hire the next CMO that's going to step in and do a nice transition handoff. I've taken companies, helped them multiply by 5x. Then I've stepped out and worked with them to bring in a new CMO because they needed someone full-time with a different set of skills that can take the company next. And I had that meeting with the CEO and told him and made a recommendation that they should remove me and keep me as a consultant rather than the CMO. So that's the new arrangement, is that I helped them hire. And now I go in 2 to 3 times a year and I do a review of what they have, what they're doing, why they're doing it, to give the CEO that clear picture of, this is what your team is doing. This is what you told me you wanted. Has that shifted? Here's where you're falling apart. Here's where you're growing. Here's how to modify. So just wanted to share that, because some people will now go Google fractional CMO. They'll look at these agencies and they won't really realize how much knowledge do they have? How much credibility, right? You mentioned in the beginning, how many campaigns that I've launched and managed. You didn't even mention, and which is fine, I'm not trying to give you a hard time, but how many—
What I forget?
How many dollars that I've actually managed placed?
What is
media?
that?
Over $1 billion.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I've worked with some massive companies, but I've done a lot, from the small mom and pop, mold testing company, mold remediation company, all the way. I've worked accounts with Toyota. I've worked accounts with Universal Music, MGM Films, Porsche. I've done those big ones and I've done the small ones. So there's nothing out there. I've sold rubber pads to mental institutions, wrote the marketing, built the website, and wrote the sales campaign and the outreach to sell rubber pads to mental institutions. That's probably the most unique, I think. So
that is interesting. So yeah, so that just, it makes me kind of think about, myself, only because, I've thought about doing some sort of fractional CMO or consulting, but I was always, when it comes to like the CMO aspect, you are right. I don't have, like, sure, we have clients that do some TV and radio, but we don't really facilitate 100% of that. We work with someone else on that. And, I have understanding of print, things like that, but still, 80% or 85 or 90% of my knowledge lies on digital, which then leads me back to what I said before, is that sounds like a consultant, That sounds like a consultant. But what I think I've noticed, and let me ask you this, this is really just a question more so for me. Say I'm starting to sell consulting services. The reason I feel like selling marketing consultant to a lot of these business owners, even that I talk to, is it feels like it's a natural step in the right direction instead of saying, hey, I'm going to sign you on for marketing services. It's like, listen, let's just have an hour meeting, go through some stuff, have it for free. I can go in, I can, take a look at your processes, your marketing, get into your campaigns, all of that stuff. And then not only come up with the recommendation, but I could have a few, even providers that would be able to help provide and facilitate some of those services as well. Wink, wink. I'm sure Vi Media would be one of those. But it seems like when it's a business owner or like a CMO, for example, even that you're talking to, that it's a lot easier to get in the door and just be like, hey, I'll come in as a consultant. I'll be able to look through this stuff. Let's go over everything. Let's see how well you're doing and see areas that you're missing, or do you even know what you want? Do you even know what your goals are supposed to be? Do you even know your KPIs? And just start with that basic discussion. Because it seems like right now, because I do a majority of the sales for my business, I'm doing a lot of that consulting already. And not, I guess we don't necessarily charge for it. Well, we really don't. But it's kind of part of the sales process. But, there are a lot of marketing companies that just stick to their lane. You know what I mean? They do SEO, they do ads. They don't worry about other aspects of the business. They don't worry about how fast their salespeople are getting back to a form fill, right? And we just had this discussion with literally right before I got here, meeting ended like a half an hour before I got here. We were talking about why are these form fills, why are they not converting anywhere near as high as phone calls? And so what they do is they own a bunch of franchises, and I guess the corporate company owns like a call center. Well, we were going through how long it was taking them to get back to form fills. On average, it was like 3 to 4 hours or the next day. And I'm like, you're lucky if you're going to be able to talk to 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 of those people. And we kept going through the list. It was like, did not answer, sent text, sent email. I'm like, if they're filling out a form, more likely than not, they're going to fill out at least another one. If you're taking, so let's just say 3. Most people get like 2 or 3 bids. Let's just say that's the case. They're filling out 3 forms. At least one company reached out before you did. That's a fact. There's one company that has it under control, and they're immediately reaching out. And then, of course, their leads are costing, $200, $210 or so in their industry. And then I'm just going through the numbers. I'm like, do you realize how much money that is at the end of the month across all of these different cities, these 2 states you guys are servicing? I was like, I don't even want to do the math. I was like, I don't want to do the math. And I was like, either they have to fix their call center or you guys need to do something else. I was like, that was it. That was the conversation. Either they get to them within even 10 minutes. I was like, at least do 10. But 5, obviously, like you said, I mean, the sooner the better, right? When you get a form, call them. And it was just like, how much is that going to help? I was like, literally, if you guys start doing that, and I was like, I'm also sorry for not noticing that. That's on me. I should notice that kind of shit. Even though technically you don't pay us to do that, we care. So therefore we should be paying attention to stuff like that anyways. So now they're implementing something for that. And I was like, oh my God. It was like the waste was incredible on a monthly basis. I was like, if we could get back to these people, I'm like, let me tell you, you guys aren't going to be bugging me at all.
I mean, yeah, you covered a lot of good stuff there. And I think ultimately, if I read into it, the question is, how can you leverage that to make more money? Mm-hmm. That's not really considered a CMO. It is considered a strategy and an upper level strategy. So you could structure your company. And this is where I come in as a CMO and a sales strategist and a strategist in general, is there's ways to leverage that for you to not call yourself a CMO, because you're not at that point, but you are a strategist. Mm-hmm. So if you come in and you want to figure out how to charge for that strategy, that's a different conversation. But I would also encourage you just to consider how you present that to the client
Yeah.
to show them the value that you bring. So when you go back to them and you want a pay increase because they're closing more and you're able to prove that, and you're able to prove that at this point in time, we made a change that we pointed out to you that you're going to improve, and you did it, and all of a sudden things are going really well. Don't discount us. Don't discount that we helped you with that strategy.
Yep.
So then you have to kind of go into the gray area of, is that really your job or not? Should you have done it anyway or not? Like, there's more to that. But, you know, whether you want to take this and use it or not, I do a 30-day starter program. I have 3 different levels. And on each level, you get something a little bit different. But on my starter programs, it's a 30-day evaluation of where you're at and where you want to go. I have a basic website one, which is just, here's your site, here's your errors, what's your core messaging, all the general SEO stuff. But it's at a higher level than most agencies will give them, because it tells them how to fix it. Then I have a step up that does more and a step up that does more. So within each of those, I'm usually able to step in and figure out all of these little key elements that they're doing and doing right and doing wrong, because it is structured with an SOP internally that we know exactly what to ask them, because I've done it long enough that I formalized it and said, look, both any type of marketing that they're doing, here's what happens, here's what falls apart. And because of my knowledge, I'm able to now ask these questions faster. And this is just kind of a very funny, haha, you know, go hit your head against a brick wall moment. When I wrote this, someone said to me, and they ran it through ChatGPT, and they go, ChatGPT says that 90% of this was created AI. And I looked at them and I said, listen, first off, I'm going to tell you it's not created AI. I said, but did you know to ask ChatGPT any of these questions when I gave them to you? And the answer is no. So if you know the right question, sometimes you can get the clear answer. But if you don't know to ask the right question, you're not going to get the answer. Yep. I don't think I said this yet, but literally today, another statement I made to somebody is, what color is the sky? And they said blue. And I go, no. What shade of blue? And they said, well, that's not what you asked me. And my response to him was, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for proving my point. Yep. Yeah, it is amazing. And I'm sure we could talk all day long about this. Tell you what, you want to tell the people where to find you, and we'll close up and get out of here? Yeah.
So you can find me online pretty easily by just typing in Josh Ramsey Marketing, JoshRamsey Marketing, and you'll find me. My website is JRCMO, which stands for Josh Ramsey Chief Marketing Officer. Pretty easy to find online. I have a ton of free resources out there, free book, a lot of different content, a huge SEO library that explains the different types of SEO, what it is. I have a lot of different free training classes that I put on around the country. So real easy to find me. Again, Josh Ramsey Marketing. The other thing is my major keyword is fractional CMO, and then name whatever major city you're around. And I'm probably going to be on page 1, if not in the top 3. So if you type in fractional CMO Dallas, I'm not only number 1, but I think I'm number 1, number 2, and number 8 on page 1 of Google. But I'm also Tampa, St. Louis, Los Angeles, Miami, and so forth. So,
sir, you are ranking number 1 in Dallas.
That's it.
There we go.
Yeah, type in Tampa, type in St. Louis. I bet I'm up there in the top 3 or number 1 on all of them.
Tampa Bay, you are number 1. Oh, you have subdomains. Interesting.
Yeah, my SEO strategy is pretty awesome because it outreaches not just with one strategy, it's multi-leveled with both CNAMEs, location, breadcrumbs, and more.
SEO team's going to take a look at this afterwards. I like that. That's interesting. I've never seen that before. As far as like a subdomain is concerned. Huh. Because usually we just set up other stuff on those.
Yeah. In St. Louis, I'm number 4.
There we go. I didn't even look it up. Let's see. St. Louis. Number 3 for me. Oh, actually number 2. The first one's an ad. Stealth Consulting. Get your ads out of here. Yeah. Perfect. Josh, it was a pleasure talking to you today. As he said, go visit his website, JRCMO. We'll have it in the description on everything as well. And of course, if you want to search him, the business name is literally in this podcast episode name. So you could search it there as well. As always, this has been another episode of the St. Louis Podcast. We'll be back next week with another episode, new guest, and more of myself, of course. As always, two best sponsors in the world. Number one, I'm sitting in their studio right now, halfcoaststudios.com. They could take care of you if you're recording a podcast or if you just need help with distribution and editing. Please visit them at halfcoaststudios.com. And as always, the best damn marketing company on the planet, Vi.media. Visit us there. All right, Josh. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Great episode. We'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Hey there, St. Louis Podcast listeners. We've got some exciting news from our friends over at Farmers Insurance of St. Louis, led by the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Lee of Farmers Insurance. If you're looking for a job or to own your own business under a brand that everyone and their cousin is familiar with, Mark Lee with Farmers Insurance of St. Louis is recruiting insurance agency owners here in St. Louis for their Farmers Insurance Mentorship Program.
And as many of you are aware, Garrett and I have owned quite a few successful and award-winning businesses over the years. And in a past life, one of those was a farmers insurance agency out of Chesterfield, Missouri.
Eric and I know firsthand how hard it is to start a business under a brand that no one has heard of and convince consumers and businesses to trust that you're an authority figure in your industry.
And as many of you know, we own an award-winning marketing firm, Vi.media, the one that Garrett was just discussing. And building that company's reputation literally took years. We're still building it to this day, and it's been 8 years in the making. However, with the Trusted Farmers Insurance Agency name on the building, we got started when we started our Farmers Insurance Agency. The trust was already built and has been for 96 years.
And if you can't do math, that means Farmers Insurance has been around since 1928. Luckily, you don't need to be a human calculator to get rich as an owner of your very own Farmers Insurance Agency.
Nope. All you have to do is reach out to the one and only Mark Lee, the leader of Farmers Insurance in the greater St. Louis metropolitan area.
That's right. So ensure he continues to sponsor our show and your favorite podcast, the St. Louis Podcast, by quitting your job today and calling Mark Lee. I wouldn't even wait for him to answer your call. Call your boss now, quit, and become your very own business owner.
Visit insurancecareerstl.com. That is insurancecareerstl.com. Should we spell it out?
Yes. It would
INSURANCE, career, CAREER, STL.com, insurancecareerstl.com. Go there now.